Welcome back to the episode, everybody. Another episode, actually, of the Bravo Zulu podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Moore. I got a nice little fitted cap on today. All right, you guys might have saw this one in the post. Hometown Heroes Outdoors. I told you guys it was coming to you. We got the vice president online with us tonight. All right, Shaun Olsberg, Army vet, and involved highly with HHO. HHO is the veteran organization that got me out on that hunt in January. Right, so we're going to introduce Shaun right now. We're going to get into some of his background, and then we're going to dive into a lot of HHO content, what they do, their mission, how they're providing support for the veterans, and then how veterans can find communities and organizations like HHO and help support each other. So let's go ahead and kick it over. Shaun, welcome to the Bravo Zulu podcast. Thank you. First, I don't think I thanked you guys enough when I was out there at the Harris Ranch a month ago now. I cannot give enough thanks for that, for having me out there as part of as a guest of HHO and the Harris Ranch and getting me on that hunt. My first ever hunt in my life. It was spectacular. The luck I had that first night. I cannot give thanks enough for that. So thank you once again for that. And without further ado, we'll kick it over to you. You can introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your military career, where you started, and and then we'll work our way over to how you ended up the vice president of HHO.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me on tonight. This is a good opportunity, and congratulations on your harvest out on your first hunt. That was pretty cool to be there and be part of that.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was amazing. Just to get that phone call from our friend Vic that last minute and get me out there is super cool. So a little bit about yourself, Army vet, right? Let's go through that little timeline there of you serving our nation.
Right on. So I'm originally born and raised in North Dakota. You now know somebody from North Dakota. There's only like 10 of us out there.
Yeah.
I went to college for diesel mechanics, ended up working for John Deere for a while, and saw that just wasn't going to get it done. I wanted to do a little more with my life. So in 2001, I enlisted into the Army as a track mechanic and a recovery guy. So I kind of spent the last 20 years active duty. Kind of at the 9-year mark, I came down on recruiting orders. After a couple of deployments to Iraq, I was like, you know what? I'm either going to get out or I need a change. And my wife, she's like, well, let's try it out. So I ended up going out on recruiting up to Wisconsin for 3 years, liked it, ended up transitioning into a 79 Romeo and became a full-time recruiter, and really did 11 years in recruiting command. And it was a good tour. You know, I saw a lot of different things than you see on the other side.
Yeah. Let's so 2001, man. It was that pre 9/11, like just right before, like right after high school, summertime.
Yeah, man. It was. I was actually in AIT in Aberdeen Proving Grounds during 9/11. So,
oh wow,
you can just imagine. You're fresh out of basic training. You're just full of piss and vinegar. You're ready to go. You know, like, we're all going to war. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so to get from there, I got sent over to Germany. 3 years over there, and then immediately 2 years over there, and then immediately to the 1st Cav Division. And I think I might have hit the fuel, or the plane just refueled from Texas to Iraq. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in Texas. Got in processed and headed right over.
You know, that we're going to kind of anchor on this just a little bit, because it's something I like to ask veterans, especially those that served before and then right at the during of 9/11, right? And of course, you already mentioned, you know, fresh out of boot camp in AIT, full of piss and vinegar. What are some of the other thoughts and like emotions that you were having during that time? Because you know, we're 25 years later this year. We are forgetting, I think, right? And there's a lot of different ways you could go down that rabbit hole of 9/11. But during that time, like, we were attacked. We lost Americans on American soil. kind of like as a young man just joining the army, what's kind of going through you at that time?
Yeah, great question. So, of course, when I enlisted, nothing was going on. It was real quiet. The army was offering big fat bonuses. They offered a student loan repayment program, and I had a lot of student debt at that time, and so I was like, you know what, this is a great chance for me to clear this debt so I don't have to pay for it, for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get there, and all of a sudden, a big event like 9/11 happened, and everybody in your class, you're all looking at each other and like, holy shit, this
Yeah.
isn't what I signed up for, really. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get my college paid off.
Yeah.
And then everybody's, so there's a lot of feelings there, right? Scared, worried, excited. I mean, they're all just kind of pumping through you at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was just a few years younger, sophomore, sitting, getting ready for school that morning, and not feeling all those things, right? Because it's still, still a kid, little.
Yeah.
I mean, where I'm at now as a 40-year-old man, definitely a little kid, sitting in high school, and definitely different, right? Where you think of all those emotions as a military member now, right? And you think, oh yeah, we're gonna get some, and we're gonna go back and get them, and it's just like, damn, man, like what did we know? What did we know back then? Like not much, right? It's definitely a different feeling. So you moved on from there, and you serve. Is it just that, like, yeah, we had enough of the Iraq deployments that kind of pushed you into that career recruiter, as we call them in the Navy? I forgot what the MOS you said, something Romeo, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a career recruiter, right? 79 Romeo. But that is, actually what drove me to do that is my first 2 years in recruiting command. I had a really great first sergeant and first line supervisor. So they kind of taught me the role, and I was in a rural area in Wisconsin. Well, I grew up in a farming community, so I really related to the people in
Mm-hmm.
in that area, which made recruiting pretty damn easy for me. It was
Yep.
hard work, but I could talk to people and get them interested
Yeah.
in what I was selling. Uh, so with that, and living out in the civilian world, you're basically I was like in my community in Wisconsin. I was the army guy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I was I was the only military member within the entire county.
Yeah.
Probably. Uh, and so living out, you kind of got the feeling like you were out. You're out of the benefits of what the military had to offer, and still had that structure. But I went home, and when I went home, I didn't. All the buildings weren't the same color.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. All the same color with a a military thing out front, that says who's
Yeah.
in charge of what. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
So you're doing your recruiting tours. You go over the 79 Romeo. You ended up in Minnesota, right? And did
I
you want
did.
to stay in like that breadbasket that you're familiar with? Again, you're good at it. You're familiar with that area of the map, right? That area of America is just very familiar. So, what kind of pushed you towards the Minnesota? Was it just the next closest thing to the Dakotas?
No, I drew the short straw every single time.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Department of the Army decided that, yeah, you're from the north, you should stay up there. I
Oh man.
guess.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I did Wisconsin, then I went to Colorado, and then back to Minnesota, and then finally I went down to South Carolina, where I ended up retiring out of Fort Jackson.
Okay. So talking about Minnesota, that's where you met our friend Vic, and that's where you first started getting involved in HHO. Can you kind of lead us through like your tour there? How you met our mutual friend, and then just kind of get into, then we'll kind of segue now into HHO. But like, I want to know like your active duty. So I'm guessing also we could back up a little bit here too. Like you're from Minnesota. You've probably been hunting, fishing, doing all the outdoorsy things that city boys like me don't grow up doing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, man, absolutely. We'd go hunting pheasants in the road ditches on the way to school in the morning. You kept your shotguns, stayed in the, just sat in your truck. The
No
pheasants
shit.
were back there, and you cleaned them after school. So I
What?
grew up in a big hunting family. We didn't even we weren't well off. We were decent. My parents
Yeah.
provided, but uh, we were a hunting family. So there was a group of us. It would be all my uncles, my two grandfathers, myself, my sisters, and we all hunted together. We'd hunt all over for deer, antelope, uh, ducks, geese, all that. And so when I enlisted in the army and my first duty station was Germany, man, I lost all that. So I really
Okay.
didn't have a chance to hunt where my real passion was out in the outdoors. I wasn't able to do that. Well, almost the whole 20 years, I did do a little bit of hunting on recruiting command, when I was at these different locations, but it's really hard for somebody that's not from there to be from there, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, um, so I was able to when I was in Minnesota, I met our buddy Vic, and another Navy recruiter. His name is Eric Imey, and we worked together in Rochester, Minnesota, right offices right next to each other. Well, I was brand new to the area, and when you're out in recruiting command, it's just you. You got to rely on your brothers in the other branches and the offices next to you to
Hmm.
kind of hang out and get and figure things out. They become your family. So Eric invited me in. He's like, "Hey, man, I got this group that I just became part of, and they're got an ice fishing trip up to Lake of the Woods, Minnesota." I was like, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. Why not? I don't know anybody. I like to fish. I don't have an opportunity. Let's go. Let's roll." So, me and three other guys that I barely knew, we hopped in my truck and we drove 5 hours uh, to this fishing trip. Uh,
Yeah.
we pulled up, and there ended up being about, I don't know, 40 ice houses out on the lake. And if you don't know
Damn.
what about ice fishing,
I
it's
don't.
like it's an RV that you pull out onto the frozen lake, and it drops down on hydraulics, and you sit there and fish. You drill holes through the floor, and you fish. I mean, and watch the Sunday football game. You know, so I thought this was pretty damn cool.
Was
You
that your
got
first? Was that your first time ice fishing?
It wasn't my first time ice fishing, but it was my first time in one of those like
Okay.
fancy
Yeah.
camper style.
So the other times was it just like when I thought of ice fishing, I was just I think it's like a grumpy old men. I think they ice fish in that movie or something. But like they're just sitting out, like literally just sitting in the cold over a hole in the ice, waiting for the fish. So that's what you had done. But now you got to experience the very luxury lifestyle of it. Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, it was first class.
Yeah.
Compared to what I was used to, it was exactly what you just explained. Man, it was that was yeah, that's it. You want
That's
a
good.
bucket. You
That's
know,
good. So how'd that ice fishing trip go? Just a bunch of good times. So was that you were there with your three buddies, but were all the other houses just other randoms on the lake, or was it all
yes,
part of the group?
I really loved how the group did it. They actually none of us that rode together fished together. So
Oh, okay.
they they broke it up into all the people that donated their fish house, and so you had a host there, and then they had like two or three or however many people that little hut would handle,
Yeah.
and so it was in a big circle out on the ice, like a big like a wagon,
Yeah.
think of a trail ride or something like
Yep.
that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anyway, they circle the wagons, and we you got to meet a lot of people, man. I got to meet people from all over the place, whether they were law enforcement or they were military. Most of them were military veterans, all different branches, active duty, reserve, National Guard. you name it, they were there. And so throughout those 3 days of fishing, you got to, everybody, they grilled out. So everybody went out and ate, and you got to meet different people throughout. You're drinking beer and having a good time.
Yeah.
And and when I left there with a lot of new friendships. And so I was able to talk to these people and find out, like, hey, this is where I'm at. Wh- what do you know about this area? And they ended up there was several people from the area that I was working in that I became friends with, and still friends to this day.
Yeah. So, what was that organization that your buddy first was that HHO or was it another entity that kind of got you out there the first time?
Yeah, it was HHO.
Oh,
It
awesome.
was
Okay.
HHO. So HHO started in 2017, and that was 2017 when we went on that trip.
All right. So, where from that experience, you're building these friendships, you learn about this organization. How does that develop over the time to get you at where you're at now? And we could go through the long version of this, right? And then we're going to really start talking about like HHO, its mission, and get you talking about all of that.
Yeah. So we did. It is kind of long, but the short version. We've got in 2017. I went on a couple of these trips, and then I PCSed down to South Carolina in 2018. I kind of grew accustomed to the organization putting on trips like that. It was a really nice way a place to go. You know, that was you're still living paycheck to paycheck sometimes, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to go hunting and fishing and stuff like that always costs a lot of money. So by putting my name in the hat for these trips, and some of them maybe they'd have a last minute dropout, and so then um, Josh, right? Like
Yep.
a last minute, and
Yep.
somebody couldn't come, and so I told them, put me on the list, and if you have any dropouts, call me last minute. I'll drop everything and
Yeah.
go. And so I did that. Several trips. Victor and I we became really great friends from that trip, and we ended up fishing almost every weekend together. Uh,
Nice.
he had a boat, and I had gas money. You know what I mean?
That's all it takes, right?
That's it. That's it. And so we ended up doing a lot there. And then he PCS and went to New York, and I PCS and went to South Carolina. Uh, Neither of those states had Hometown Hero Outdoors chapters in them. So I started working with another organization for a little while. I just really didn't like the way that was going. And so I contacted the board of directors for Hometown Hero Outdoors and asked them if I could start a chapter in South Carolina. Um, so I told them why. They all knew who I was because of the trips I had been going on, and they all decided that, yeah, okay, let's expand. Before that, we were really just locked down to HHO was only in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota. So it was only in 3 states, and none of those northern boys had any idea like what to do down south. So
Yeah.
so I started that chapter in South Carolina. We started fishing. We did fishing tournaments, hog hunts, you name it. We did a lot of turkey, deer, and started growing the chapter down there to where it was going pretty good. We had me as the state director, and I think I had about 7 or 8 volunteer staff members that were all they're all veterans as well or currently serving. And so we had a lot of fun. But I knew that wasn't going to last, and so I told them when in 2018 when I started that I'm I'm only going to be here for a couple of years, and then I'm retiring and I'm moving back to Texas, and and I'd like to start a chapter there. So that's exactly what we did in 2021. I started the Texas chapter, which which just built steam really fast. We got going, we grew, we were very large, very active. This is a good, it's the best. Ask me, it's the best state as far as veteran and first responders. There's just so many benefits, and people really, really love America here. So, uh, starting that chapter, and I've been doing that ever since. And then I guess about a year and a half ago now, almost 2 years, a board position came open, and I became a regional director to help manage some of the other states' leadership, and then got voted in as the vice president. Uh, yeah, so that brings us to right here. Now I get to manage personnel and uh, build this organization and spread the word on a national level.
That's great. That's great. So let's talk about how does one get the opportunity, right? I got it up, hometownheroesoutdoors.org, social media, Hometown Heroes, Instagram, Facebook, all out there. But what does it take for the listeners out there that are like, wow, this is amazing. I want to do what Josh did. I want to do what Shaun did. How do I start? Like, how do they just get the chance to go on one of these hunts or fishing trips or whatever it is in their state? And then what are the states that they are located in or that might be closest to them that they could take this opportunity?
Yeah. So it's really easy as a qualifying member, as long as you worked in the law enforcement, fire, EMS, uh, whether you're active duty, active firefighter, or full or volunteer firefighting. You know what I mean? All that is qualifying. So you go on the website and click become a member or join here, and we vet everybody that comes in. We do it personally, right? So there's three of us that are actually going through every one of those submissions every day. And what we're looking for, we want to make sure that, unfortunately, we have to do that because there's folks out there that just want to take advantage of the system, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can rest assured that if you're on going to one of these trips, you're going to be with like-minded people, right? There's no doubt about it. And it's all free. So as soon as you go on the website, you submit it, you put your some kind of documentation, whether it's a 214 or an ID or whatever it might be, to
Mm-hmm.
validate who you are. Then you're approved, and then from that point, you can look at all the adventures that are listed from across the country. Uh, and usually, all you need to pay for is your travel to get there, right? And
Yeah.
maybe a certain license if that's required, or a qualification. But most everything is taken care of from the organization, and that's how you get started. And there's no borders, there's no limit, right? If you put your name in for one, doesn't mean you can't go on another one. uh, some of our most active states are Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, Texas, Missouri. Indiana has been doing really well, and we're about to bring on a few new states here within the next couple of months. So we are incorporated in 28 states, but really actively, with having enough volunteers to operate the chapters, I'd say probably about 11 of those states are very active.
Okay. And so does each state, and I guess we'll get to like the real mission statement here in a second, after we give out some of the funner details here that people like to, are like certain states kind of like um better at certain hunting, right? I could think like of a coastal state, maybe have like, more of the deep sea fishing kind of things going on. Some of those Midwest states, maybe, big old whitetails, down here where we're at, awesome whitetails as well. I know you guys just had the raffle also. I don't know if it's still ongoing, but I know you had the raffle down here for the Harris Ranch one going on. Amazing again. So, like, does each state kind of have its own little thing kind of going on where if you're a hunter out there or outdoors person, or if you're not, like me, I'm not, like, admittedly, I don't think I can qualify to call myself an outdoorsman, right? But wanting to get into it, wanting to experience that, are there different states you like they should look at for different experiences?
Yeah, every state has opportunities when we're kind of talking hunting and fishing right now,
Yeah,
right? But what I want to get out there is that that's not absolutely that's not all we do, right? We might go. I've taken people to ranger games, football games,
okay, okay.
golfing, horseback riding, hiking, kayaking. So it's really based off of since we are all volunteer force, there's about 146 volunteer staff from across the country. And all of those people are wired a little bit different. I don't want 10 staff members that all they do is bass fishing, right? Because
Yeah,
now all you're doing is bass fishing. And I might not want to go bass fishing,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
we try to screen. I don't say screen. When I'm interviewing folks that want to volunteer as a staff, I try to look at have them write down their strengths. What they're like, what they like to do, and that way we can get a more broad picture of what's out there to do. If
yeah.
that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's great because a lot of what your mission is like, and you can speak to it perfectly here in a second, but getting the veterans out there for well being, right? So maybe that veteran didn't grow up doing that. Maybe they've never shot. Maybe they don't like to shoot. Maybe they're the infantryman that's decided to put the rifle down or something. They don't want to go do that anymore. So I think that's great that you let us know that because that opens that aperture up for so many more veterans and first responders to volunteer, knowing that as long they probably have something in the outdoors world, in the hobby world, that can help them out. Just because it's outdoors in the title doesn't mean we're only restricted or limited to that. And then I'll give it back to you to talk about what that mission is and getting the veterans out there.
Yeah. So like we have up in Minnesota, they do a barbecue competition class every year. So
Oh,
people that are interested in cooking, they can go and attend this class and learn everything there is to know about competition barbecue, which is pretty pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
I
I
like
think it's
I
cool.
like
Strange place for it to. You said that's in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I held three barbecue cook-offs down here in Texas.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had one every year. This year was the only first time we hadn't done it. So if you're not into hunting and fishing and those kind of woods and water stuff, then
Yeah.
you can. There's still a place for you. You can come and we do equine. We partner with several horse places that do equine therapy, right? And I mean that's some amazing stuff. If you've never
Yeah.
done it, it's pretty cool. Um,
And again, I'd like to just hammer on. I think that's super cool because maybe sometimes people think, oh, I don't have that equipment. I don't have this. I can't be a staff, a volunteer because I don't have access to those things. Like you said, it takes money to do these things, right? Maybe not all the money, but it does take. But if you have the time, you know what? I like to hike. If you like to hike out there and you're listening to this and you're saying, look it up. Maybe you could just take some veterans on some, specific trails that you know about. Go hike because what we want to do, or I say we, but which HHO, like you're trying to just get the veteran out there to talk about their experiences, right? And kind of open them
that's
up,
it.
right?
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. You know, the way I kind of explain it is we do all these great high visibility trips, to get people off the couch and to sign up and maybe they'll get out there but that's really for me that's the carrot, right, Josh?
yeah,
We invited you to come out hunting, but it wasn't like you were coming out there to hunt for the first time and we're
yeah,
jacked about that. When you came through the gate, that's not why I wanted you there,
yeah,
right? I wanted you to come out and spend time with like-minded people and just relax, kind of decompress, and meet some others, and maybe talk to other people that are other veterans that maybe dealing with issues or same things that you were dealing with. And I've had, man, I can't even tell you how many people I've taken out over the last few years, but I mean hundreds, right? And I still keep in touch with several of those folks, and we might not even know we need this until we're there and experienced it, and like at the end, and you're driving home, like, man, I really needed that. Like
Yes.
that was more than just shooting an animal, or that was more than just going to a a golf event,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, definitely, Shaun. I was out there with Jim, and right away, me doing this, I have this like natural inclination now to like kind of take everything in this like interviewee perspective, maybe good or bad. But so right away, I was like, okay, Jim, so let's talk about you. And it was like this, like, so tell me about you, tell me about you, and Jim has a really cool story, and then he spilled it all as we were driving out there, and then he was like, all right, there's my life story, now you spill it. And it's interesting, as active duty veterans, um, oftentimes we get the opportunity to tell it, but it's a little bit different when it's a brand new stranger and you have a comfortability, automatic comfortability after they share for you to open up and share and just be like, yeah, so this is Josh. This is the 5 minute Josh right here. Let me tell you about him, and then to like pick threads out over the 1 or 2 days you're out there, and oh hey, you mentioned this the other day, let's talk about that, let's open that a little bit up. So that's just a really interesting part. Yeah, it was my first hunt, cool. But I think that feeling that you were describing, right, when I was saying, or the feeling you said driving home, that's the feeling I had. I had the feeling driving home of like, no one ever likes to go back to work after some leave, right? We all know that.
Yeah,
But the stress level and the decompression, I don't think I've had decompression like that in a very long time. And it's not to say like I don't enjoy the time I get with my kids, right? But usually when you're with your kids, you're active and you're moving and you got to keep them safe, and so you're always watching and you're being a parent, right? To go out there and kind of have zero worries just for like a 48 hours, 72 hours, and you're looking at so much country, so much land, right? And it's just open and free. It really like just takes so much away where it feels like you're not cramped. You can breathe, right? It's like you just exhale it all and just be like, wow, like I'm here, And I
oh,
think that's what's really powerful, and I think that's what HHO is trying to do for the veterans out there, right?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it. There's so many times that I'll get a text message from somebody that once they leave the event and they're on their way home, and they'll just pull over and unload, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I've had folks that just break down crying, like, man, I had no idea I needed this. I'm a successful businessman. I all that, everything's good. My family's great. My job's good. But wow, this is amazing. And I really needed that. And I didn't know. And now I know better that I can reach out and do this again periodically just to get that reset.
yeah, no, it was amazing doing that, and I mean, I don't know what else to say, but like it was just like when people say, "Oh, it's a breath of fresh air," like there was actually fresh air out there, and I took a lot of breaths of it, and it was really cool. And having Jim as my guide was
Yeah.
super awesome. And that just depends on whoever. If you're out there and you're volunteering, you know, or you're someone that gets lucky enough to be participating in something that HHO is providing, I'd say like don't bottle up, like just open up to the person. Like there's so many of us have so many similar or like experiences, right? It's not like being trapped in a yeah, we're like-minded most of the time, right? But it's not like what's the word, it's like political stuff, like we're in our own box and we don't like to think of anything else. It's not that, it's just
Yeah.
that we've shared so many similar experiences where someone else could look at you and be like, no, yeah, I get that. I get that. You
And
know,
they
when
do
you're
get it.
sharing and they really do, yes. And then you're just like, oh, you do? And it's like, no, yeah, I do get it because here's a story that I want to share. And it's not like a one-upmanship. You get a lot of that still when you're active duty, right? When in the corporate out there in the civilian world of like, cool story, but hear mine. This didn't feel like that at all. This was like that. Thank you for sharing that story. Now let me share my story. Let me share this. And when you sit back and you have the humility enough to like listen, you can really take a lot away from that.
Yeah. It's a rough world out there, man. Like there's people dealing with a lot of heavy shit,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And if we can if we can take care of each other, all the better. And yeah, the one uppers, they can stay at the front gate, right? We
Yeah,
don't need that. And when I bring people together for these trips, I'll try to get to know them a little bit. Uh, you were paired up with Jim for a reason, Josh, right? We look at people. Vic knew who you were. He knew your personality. He knows your story, and we wanted to put you with the person, the right guy, the right person. When you come out to the Harris Ranch, it's you're not just going with a hunting guide, right?
yeah,
It's not You're not just paying your money, go and shoot an animal. You're there for a purpose, and all of our volunteers they're there for a purpose, and they love to be there. And
yeah,
Jim, he's one of the best.
yeah.
Yeah, great
Yeah, no,
story.
yeah, he was. It was amazing. Great dude, man. I loved it every second of it. Let's talk about. So we'll go jump around here a little bit. You went to South Carolina, and you said, "Let's create a chapter down here." If someone else is watching this and they look up and they Google and they go and you go, I live in whatever state, right? Maybe it's one of the 28 that already is incorporated by you guys, but they don't know. There's no base there. How do they start getting involved in their local state, either starting a new chapter or just going, hey, they're here, but no one's doing anything. I want to be the veteran. I want to be the first responder that starts doing something. How do they do that?
Yeah. So actually, right on our website, there's a Get Involved tab. You click on that, and you can volunteer at different levels, right? Let's say you just want to help out at an event or a trade show. We have a booth set up, and you want to come and where we're just handing out pamphlets and talking to people and spreading the word. You can do that. Or if you wanted to be a field staff, you can reach out there as well, and Kimberly will get your information and then send it out to the right person that needs it. Right. You can contact me. You can call me directly, email, whatever. And ask me questions about it. There are requirements that we ask of our volunteers because we don't want to have just a bunch of people there that are taking up space, but and not pushing the mission forward,
Yeah.
right? So we do talk to them, and we'll find out where you fit in. Yeah, come on. There's room. There's room for a lot of people.
And I know I watch you on Josh Melching's podcast, right? I did watch you on there. The
Yeah.
outreach project, I'll plug that. I got to reach out to him still and see if he wants to do a cross swap here. But good guy, met him down there at the ranch and watch a couple of his episodes, and they're doing great things over there as well. And something you guys talked about more specifically on there, I just want to kind of brush over here. But like when you're saying volunteer, like you guys are 100% volunteer
Yes.
nonprofit. When you guys are talking about nonprofit, you guys are actually fulfilling that what a lot of people think a nonprofit should be. Why don't you go ahead and shed some light on that for us?
Yeah. And that's the reason that I'm still here, Josh. We are 100% all volunteer. There's two people that we pay, and that's our accountant and our attorney, right? We need both of those to keep us out of trouble.
Yeah, definitely,
Because
definitely.
you get a bunch of vets together, we can get in trouble. Okay. Uh,
Definitely, yep.
but yeah, all volunteer, and that says so much. We may not have grown as fast as some other organizations, or nonprofits. You say, uh, the ones you see on the TV commercials that are getting all this millions and millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
but they're paying millions and millions of dollars for advertising. For their board of directors are all paid positions, and I understand that. Right, to get to a certain level, there has to be those positions. We're not there, right? And we're trying not to do that, but eventually there may have to be that, right, in order to
Yeah.
keep going. When if you got it's a business,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to get things done as an all volunteer force. Um, you know, you're from New Mexico and you call me and you're like, hey, I want to do something, but I'm in New Mexico. I'm like, all right, well, give me some time. We don't have a chapter there yet, but we're working on it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's coming. Um,
But I think
yeah,
that
the all
that gives.
volunteers big.
I think that makes you guys special in a way, right? Not just in the like, oh, you guys aren't getting paid, but in the sense of, it definitely makes it feel a lot more real to me. Like that's more real, right? When it's just brothers and sisters volunteering to help other veterans, right? And it's not the corporatized, oh no, this is completely paid for by these people. It's like, no, it's people, it's veterans, first responders taking time out of their day, right? They could be doing other
Yeah,
things. They could have a job, but they're taking the time to come down and show you this hiking trail, show you that these horses, the hunt, whatever it might be. I think that makes you guys a lot more real. And I think eventually, like in a world that is lacking authenticity, right? It is going to move you guys along at the proper pace. Will it skyrocket you? Maybe not. But also, I think a lot of times that's what corrupts quickly, right? Is when you do that, get that skyrocket, boom, you're at the forefront of everything, and you have millions of dollars that you don't know what to do with. And I might be speaking out of my ass. I've never ran a damn nonprofit, but you have millions of dollars and you don't know what to do with it, so you just start paying each other, and you
yeah,
lose
right.
sight of the mission. And I think you guys are doing a great job not losing sight of that mission, and the mission should be veterans.
Yeah, I want and Chris Tetral is our president, and everybody else on the board of directors. We're there for that reason, and we want our donors, our partners, to know that every dollar that's going to the organization is going back to the field. We have we have a very low percentage. I think it's 98%, or it's only 2% that we spend on operating costs, which it's very expensive to operate an organization like
Right.
this. A lot, and I'm learning as we go. We don't have any professional nonprofit people. We're
Yeah.
all a bunch of dirty old vets, man.
Yep.
We're a bunch of veterans and first responders that are, like you said, donating our time for others, right?
Yeah.
And that shows through, I think, on our trips. When people come down to the ranch, to the Harris Ranch, and they realize like everybody there they're all the same.
Yeah.
Whether you're working at the ranch, you're working or you're volunteering for HHO, or you're a guest.
Yeah.
Everybody's the same, right?
Yep.
We're all even playing.
Yeah. No, that's an amazing point. Let's start talking a little bit about like, I want to get into a little bit more personal things, just fun things, right? Make this lively. I see
Yeah,
you have a wall of firearms behind you, right? Awesome, love it. I don't have as many, but maybe one day I will. Let's talk about some of your favorite. What are some of your favorite activities, right? Personally,
yeah.
are you more the hunter, the fisherman? I know you started with, like you said, you're hunting pheasants out of the ditch, going to school. So what really like brings you back to your upbringing? That's your like the thing that you can't miss, that you look forward to, that you make the most time for.
So, wow, yeah. I work for a company called Silencer Central, and they're the largest suppressor company in the country. And so, by working with them, I get to network with a lot of people in the outdoor industry, and that's really where I love to be. Um, I love introducing youth to firearms, shooting sports, hunting. If it has to do with our youth, man, I'm all about it, because if once we're gone, if we're not teaching them, I don't know who will,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And there's a lot of enjoyment that comes in the outdoors. I'd say, I mean, man, I love to fish. I'm a tournament bass fisherman. I volunteer for the De Leon High School bass team. I'm a captain for them. So
Damn, the
that's
high school has a bass team that's
oh
locally
yeah,
where you're at.
that's right.
That's
Oh,
fucking.
it's
That's so
it's
cool.
one it's
That's
one
so
of the
cool.
biggest sports, growing sports right now in high school and in the collegiate area.
Really,
Yeah,
damn.
so I have two students, right? I've got a junior and a senior that are on my team, and then I'm their captain. Well, these boys have they never fished bass fishing from a boat before, so
Hmm.
I get to teach them. And back to my military, I was an instructor on my last. I was a master trainer on my last assignment, and I loved teaching people. So by taking these two boys out and go fishing tournaments on Saturdays, uh, competitively against 150 other teams,
Yeah.
it's it's a rush, man. It's fun, it's fulfilling, it fills my cup for sure. So I love working with our youth for sure.
No, that's cool. I've since moving in Texas. I'd say maybe just right before I went and bought some fishing rods. There's like a little man-made lake over in San Diego that we like to go to, um, and so I would try to get more into fishing. And moving to Texas, been doing it a lot more. Last winter I was at RV park that had a little pond. You just got to catch and release them, and it has little bass in it. But like I have kids. I have little kids, right? They're eight and
Yeah,
6, about to be 7, and so that's why I like to share that time with them. I never went fishing with my pops when I was younger, right? With no opportunity, no time, just didn't do it. I remember us having like a tackle box and some fishing rods when I was little. Don't know whatever happened to them. Never took them out. Nothing. But so I'm trying to do that. Giving back to the kids, teaching them, and they like it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for a dad, right? It's one of those that really will test your patience and humble you to be like, just take a breather, Josh. Like, it's not their fault. You put them under a tree. What did you expect? But that's yeah. So they like to fish. I think my daughter likes it more than my son. But that's very interesting to hear that it's one of those growing high school collegiate level, which I think a lot of sports are, right?
yeah.
Video game sports, esports, if you will, they're doing that stuff too. So I'm not surprised to hear that it's bass. I just like there's so many coming from other places, Phoenix and San Diego. Most of my career to be in Texas, where so much more the outdoors is prevalent and the 4-H thing and all that. It's just very surprising to me to like hear those kinds of things. That there's a bass team at the local high school.
Yeah, bass team. Sporting clays and trap shooting is one of the fastest growing sports in the high schools right now across the country.
Wow. Yeah.
And I with all this negativity towards firearms and stuff like that, I think that it's great to see these shooting sports growing in across the country, where they're not, you don't have to be scared of a firearm. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
learn it. It's a tool. You learn how to use it and use it what it's for. And I think you can have a lot of fun with it, right? You can enjoy that tool. It's like a baseball bat
Yep.
for baseball, right?
Yep,
And
yeah, absolutely. That's the same thing I tell my children. Is like there are tools and there are toys, and Dad doesn't have toys. Dad has tools, right? And so last October, I bought my son a his first 22, right? Got him the little Ruger 22, long rifle, and we went and shot it.
yeah,
And I teach him the 4 universal weapon safety rules and make them recite them back to me. And just like, hey, this is a tool. And some firearms are different tools for different things, but they're all tools. And number one rule for us in our household is, what do we not do with tools? We don't play with them. right? And it's kind of
Yeah.
teaching them there at that young age. So I think that's super cool. Let's talk about your Silencer Central, right? Is like, how did you get into that kind of job?
Yeah. Well, weird. You just run into people, right?
I guess.
Actually, my one of my old high school buddies was working for the company back when they were expanding to all the different states and
Okay.
out of South. They're based out of South Dakota, and so I became their area manager for South Carolina when I was living down there. And I also told the CEO, like, hey, I'll hold this position for now, but I'm gonna in 2 years I'm gonna be moving back to Texas, and I would really love to continue my work with the company there. And he honored that. And so
Oh
when I
wow.
moved to Texas, I was able to take over the position here, and then that kind of grew. They're like, wait a minute, you're an Army recruiter? That means you're a sales? Well,
Yeah. Okay.
why don't you start working sales on these gun shows, and that led to going to a different gun show or sporting show any around the country every weekend.
Oh wow.
So I not only owned my own property inspection company during the week, and then on the weekends I was going to sell silencers and talk to people about firearms all weekend.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
That's not too bad of a gig right there, Shaun. Not too bad of a gig. We're coming up on an hour. We'll start to wrap up, right? Is there anything else you'd like to talk about HHO or that we didn't cover? Any kind of message you'd like to send to the potential volunteers or potential beneficiaries of an organization like HHO?
Yeah, to our members, right, to our community, to our veteran and first responder communities out there, it's hard, and we understand that there's struggles that you're dealing with, whether it's at home or it's at work. Don't We're losing too many people to suicide, right, every day. I just here in the town next to me, murder suicide last night, right? I
Mm,
don't know the details, but why? We don't need that. We don't need that shit. You guys, we've done too much good and given too much to the country and to our communities to ruin it by committing suicide, and it's real. 1 in 3 first responders are struggling from PTSD. You know, I don't know what the percentage is on active duty vets, but it's high, right?
yeah.
I struggle myself. Um, there are organizations out there that you can reach out to for help. So please help. Just reach out. And to our sponsors or potential partners, man, if you see this and you like what you hear, I would love to speak with you. Uh, we are all volunteer, and we run 100% on the gifts of others, right? So the guys and gals that volunteer for the organization, they can't do what they do or what they want to do without your help. So there's several ways to donate. You can go to hometownherooutdoors.org. There's a donate button there. Everything is all the information is there for big corporate donations. We do share donations, you name it. We need you in order to do what we do.
Most definitely, yeah. No, absolutely, Shaun. Suicide. It's a eternal decision for what is a temporary problem. There, shipmates and soldiers and everyone else out there, right? So don't make that decision, right?
That's right.
Call somebody. Like I said, I don't think there's a person that hasn't struggled at some point through whether first responder or veteran, right? But that is an everlasting decision that you don't get to stick around with, but you put it on your family members and your loved ones to live the rest of their life, wondering why, and you cannot provide them an answer. So never make that decision, right? Reach out, call someone, suicide hotline, whatever it may be. Reach out. There's someone there that's going to answer. Do that, and definitely look forward to volunteering, Shaun. Right? I definitely, as I wrap up my career here, the benefit that you guys gave me has been very impactful, and now I want to start trying to give back somehow. So hopefully we could get some views on this. We get people reaching out, and if not, then I'll be affording my time when possible to give back to HHO because of what you guys were able to afford me, and I think that's what it's all about, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
So
And,
go ahead, go ahead.
and that's a sweet looking
Oh,
lid you got
yes,
on there.
yes.
Huh?
If you
You
guys
like
got
that?
do you have this merch online?
Man, our web store isn't open right now.
Okay,
There, it, it's kind of a tricky deal, but
yeah.
we do have stuff.
And here's another
Yeah,
one. I got the silver and white one here. I got another one, like an all black and white one in the truck that I keep with me for bad hair days. You guys check out the website, all right? Hometownheroes.org or hometownheroesoutdoors.org. It's right there. It's on the board. Write it down, people. You when they get it up, you're gonna get awesome merch like this. This is a very good hat too. Like there's some hats I buy sometimes from people where it's like, ugh, like I don't know about that. This is good. I like this quality. Good stuff, Shaun. Any last words before we get out of here?
hometownheroeoutdoors.org, man. Just check them out. Hit the website and go around, check out, read some of the stories, see what your fellow veterans are doing out there, and come be part of it.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Shaun, for your time this evening. I appreciate it so much. For all the listeners and viewers out there, again, hometownheroesoutdoors.org. Go check in there, see what you can volunteer and help with. Before you do that, see what there's out there for you could benefit from. But if you're benefiting, don't forget to give back. That's all we got tonight. I'm Joshua Moore. He's Shaun Olsberg. This was the Bravo Zulu podcast. We thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.